My name is Elena Morrison. I'm 29 years old, and the night my boyfriend told me I couldn't afford his lifestyle. I was eating leftover lo mein at our kitchen table. It was a Tuesday. Ordinary. Quiet. I had just logged off from a 12-hour shift debugging back-end security patches for a fintech client. My brain was fried. My hair was in a loose bun that had given up hours earlier. Across from me, Caleb Hoffman, 26, part-time boutique associate, full-time ego, cleared his throat like he was about to announce a promotion. "Elena," he said calmly, almost cheerfully, "I joined a sugar baby site." I blinked. Noodles halfway to my mouth. "What?" He didn't even hesitate. "You can't support the lifestyle I deserve." The fork slipped from my fingers and clinked against the plate. 3 years together. 3 years of shared rent. Shared groceries. Shared streaming passwords. 3 years of me covering his BMW lease when his commission checks were delayed. Of spa memberships. Of designer bags that were investments. And now this. He leaned back in his chair and flipped his hair, that ridiculous move he does when he thinks he's superior. "Nothing personal," he added, "but your salary is limiting." Limiting. I make $85,000 a year as a software developer. Not billionaire money. Not yacht money, but comfortable. Meanwhile, Caleb made maybe $20,000 part-time. Guess whose bank account funded his luxury aesthetic? "So you're dating other women for money?" I asked carefully. He rolled his eyes. "It's not dating, it's arrangements. These women understand the value of my companionship." I almost laughed at that. Companionship. This man once tried to return a jacket to Nordstrom that he bought from Macy's. "Show me your profile," I said. He smirked. "Jealous?" "Curious." He pulled out his phone and turned the screen toward me. Profile name: Golden King 27. Bio: refined taste. Luxury mindset. If you can't handle high maintenance, swipe left. Monthly expectations start at $10,000. The photos. Shirtless gym selfies I'd never seen. Designer outfits that mysteriously appeared over the past few months. "When did this start?" I asked. 2 months ago. 2 months. Right around when I started noticing unexplained withdrawals from my emergency fund. "How much have you made?" I asked. 30,000, he said proudly. 8 generous women lined up. One owns a cosmetics brand, another inherited a hotel chain. They appreciate ambition. "And what exactly are you offering them?" He smiled slowly. "Class, charm, elevation." Elevation. I remembered paying for his CrossFit membership because he said networking there matters. "Where's the 30K? I asked quietly. "Safe, away from this mediocre life." He stood up and grabbed his duffel bag. "I'm moving out next week. Put a deposit down on a luxury apartment downtown. My new benefactors are helping." He kissed the air near my cheek. "I hope you find someone more affordable." And he walked out. The door clicked shut. I sat there for 5 minutes. Then I smiled. See, Caleb didn't know something about me. For the past 2 years, I've been doing freelance consulting in financial fraud detection. Quietly, discreetly. Contract work for private firms who need digital footprints traced and money flows analyzed. I notice patterns, like repeated $2,000 withdrawals from my emergency fund. Withdrawals Caleb had access to. I hadn't confronted him. I documented. Every timestamp. Every transaction. Reported it to my lawyer 2 weeks ago. I wanted to see how far he'd go. Apparently, $30,000 far. I opened my laptop, pulled up the sugar site, created a new profile. Veronica Vale, 34, Tech CEO. Then another. Sophia Laurent, 41, real estate investor. And another. 8 in total. 8 powerful, wealthy women with different personalities, texting styles, LinkedIn pages, AI-generated photos, burner numbers. I built them carefully, beautifully. Caleb wanted elevation. I was about to give him a masterclass. I matched with him as all 8 profiles. And within hours, Golden King 27 was thriving. "Baby, I need $5K for wardrobe upgrades," he texted Veronica. "Sophia, rinse $3K this month. You understand a man of my caliber needs the right environment." To Adriana, my crypto heiress persona, he wrote, "I see long-term potential with you. Exclusive." I watched the conversations unfold like a forensic analyst watching malware spread. Every dollar I sent? Mark, legally coordinated with Detective Troy Benson, an old contact who owed me a favor from a fraud case last year. Controlled operation. Documented serial numbers. 3 days in, Caleb texted me. The real me. "Moving out tomorrow. My new place is insane. You could never." He sent a selfie. I zoomed in. Hotel wallpaper. Marriott downtown. The deposit he bragged about? Paid with my stolen money. Meanwhile, as Veronica, I texted him. "Meet me Thursday. Ritz-Carlton Bar. 8 p.m. Wear something unforgettable. I have a surprise." He replied with heart emojis. Of course he did. Thursday was going to be unforgettable. He thought he was upgrading. He had no idea he was walking into an audit. By Thursday morning, Caleb was vibrating with anticipation. I could tell from the messages. Golden King 27 had never worked so hard in his life. He rotated between 8 conversations like a man spinning plates, tailoring his tone depending on the woman. With Veronica, he was ambitious and visionary. With Sophia, he was grounded and mature. With Adriana, playful and crypto-savvy. With Camille, my art dealer persona, he pretended to appreciate abstract expressionism. He once called a Rothko that red rectangle thing. Now suddenly he was writing paragraphs about emotional depth and color theory. I watched him perform. That's the part people don't talk about when it comes to entitlement. It's not loud at first. It's strategic, adaptive. Caleb wasn't stupid. He studied each persona's preferences and mirrored them back flawlessly. Except he forgot one thing. I built them. I knew exactly what he was responding to. By noon, Sophia had transferred him $3,000 for rent assistance. Marked bills. By 2 p.m., Veronica sent $5,000 for wardrobe upgrades. Marked. By 4 p.m., Adriana wired $4,500 electronically, logged and flagged. And Caleb? He spent the afternoon at a salon. Hair trim, teeth whitening, manicure, spray tan, all paid for with evidence. He texted Veronica at 5:17 p.m. Booked a suite upgrade at my place. Want it to feel worthy of you. I checked the Marriott website. He had extended his stay. Suite upgrade confirmed. Still not an apartment. Still a hotel room funded by stolen money and fake sugar mamas. At 6:45 p.m., he sent Sophia a mirror selfie. Caption, "Preparing for greatness." I almost admired the confidence. Almost. At 7:30, he left the hotel, wearing a charcoal suit I'd paid for last Christmas. Shoes bought with Adriana's money. Watch courtesy of Camille. He looked expensive. Like a walking ledger. Detective Troy and his partner, Detective Monica Reyes, were already at the Ritz-Carlton when I arrived. We didn't sit together. We didn't need to. Monica had a full file prepared. Transaction logs, withdrawal reports, boutique inventory discrepancies, hotel payment records, serial number documentation. The timeline was airtight. 8 p.m. Caleb walked in. He scanned the bar slowly, adjusting his cufflinks, that slight smirk already forming. He texted Veronica. "Here, baby. Where are you hiding?" I waited 5 minutes. Let him order champagne. He didn't hesitate. A $320 bottle. Put it on Veronica's tab. 8:15 p.m. I stood up from the corner booth, walked toward him calmly. "Elena?" he said, confusion flickering across his face. "Hi, Caleb." His eyes darted around. "What are you doing here?" I tilted my head slightly. "Meeting someone." He forced a laugh. "Yeah? Me too." I pulled out my phone. Turned the screen toward him. 8 chat windows open. Veronica. Sophia. Adriana. Camille. Isabel. Marina. Naomi. Lydia. "All of them say hi," I said softly. The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might faint. You catfished you? I finished. He stood abruptly. This isn't funny. No, I agreed. It's fraud investigation. His breathing changed. Fast. Shallow. You tricked me. Did I? I asked gently. Or did I just document what you were already doing? He looked toward the exit. That's when Troy and Monica approached. Professional. Calm. Mr. Hoffman, Monica said clearly. We need to discuss the $30,000 withdrawn from Miss Morrison's emergency fund. Caleb froze. What? I didn't steal anything. Those women gave me that money. I kept my voice steady. Those women don't exist. Monica opened the file. We've been tracking marked bills reported stolen 2 weeks ago. Serial numbers match currency used at Nordstrom, Chanel, the Marriott downtown, and multiple salon services. Caleb looked at me like I'd stabbed him. You set me up. You announced you were leaving me for 8 sugar mamas, I replied calmly. You stole from me. You bragged about it. That's entrapment! Troy actually smiled. Entrapment is when law enforcement induces someone to commit a crime they wouldn't otherwise commit. You withdrew the funds before these profiles were created, Monica continued. We also have documentation of a bounce deposit check at a luxury apartment where you listed Ms. Morrison as co-signer without her consent. His mouth opened slightly. Oh yes, the landlord called me that morning. Fake money orders don't clear. And, Monica added, flipping a page, we received a report from your employer regarding missing designer inventory consistent with items shown in your dating profile. Now he was shaking. I was going to pay it back. With what? I asked quietly. Confidence? His composure cracked. Elena, please, he whispered. There it was. Not remorse. Fear. He reached for my hand. I stepped back. Monica gently took his wrists. Mr. Hoffman, you are under arrest for grand theft and fraud. The handcuffs clicked. Clean. Final. Guests at the bar stared openly. Caleb's voice rose, desperate. You ruined me. I picked up the champagne flute he'd ordered. Took a sip. You ruined yourself. As they led him out, he shouted over his shoulder. I deserve better than this mediocre life. I didn't chase him. I didn't yell. I simply watched the doors close. Troy sat across from me afterward. You good? He asked. I nodded. But inside, it wasn't triumph. It was clarity. Because as dramatic as this felt, something told me this wasn't the end. It was just the audit phase. And I had a feeling we were about to discover that Caleb Hoffman's fraud extended far beyond my emergency fund. If I thought the Ritz-Carlton was the climax, I underestimated Caleb. The arrest video circulated faster than I expected. Someone at the bar must have recorded it. By morning, a blurry clip of a sharply dressed man being escorted out in handcuffs was floating around Instagram with the caption, "Sugar baby gone wrong." They had no idea. By 9 a.m., my phone rang. Diane Hoffman, his mother. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again? Finally, I answered. What did you do to my son? She demanded. No greeting, no hesitation. I reported theft, I replied evenly. He would never steal from you. He withdrew $30,000 from my emergency fund. Stop saying that number like it means something, she snapped. You make good money. You're not struggling. That's not how theft works. You embarrassed him publicly. I leaned back in my chair. He embarrassed himself privately for 2 months. Silence. Then she lowered her voice, almost pleading. You could have handled this quietly. Why involve the police? Because quiet is where men like Caleb thrive. He listed me as a co-signer on an apartment lease without my knowledge, I said. He used my money to fund his lifestyle. And that's just what I know. She scoffed. He said you were controlling, monitoring his spending. That's financial abuse. I opened my banking app. Would you like screenshots of the withdrawals? She hung up. But she wasn't done. That night, there was pounding at my apartment door. I checked the camera. Lucia Ramirez, his best friend. Wine drunk. Furious. I opened the door halfway. You're disgusting, she slurred. He was just trying to level up, and you couldn't handle it. Level up? I asked calmly. He committed felony theft. He was exploring options. Exploring options doesn't involve forged signatures. She blinked. He said you made him feel small, like he depended on you. He did depend on me. That's emasculating. No, I said evenly. That's math. She tried to step inside. I blocked her. You think you're some hero? She spat. You catfished him. I documented him. He's in jail. For theft. You could drop the charges. I stared at her for a long moment. Did he tell you about the missing boutique inventory? Her expression faltered. What inventory? Interesting. She swayed slightly. You're twisting this. I held up my phone and showed her the withdrawal history. Her eyes skimmed it. Then she shook her head stubbornly. You're impossible. She stormed off, attempted to kick my door, missed, and limped toward the elevator, cursing. But the most surreal call came the next day. Caleb. From jail. I almost didn't answer. Curiosity won. He didn't start with an apology. He started with a proposal. Okay, he said briskly, like we were discussing quarterly earnings. Here's what's going to happen. I laughed softly. You're going to drop these charges, he continued. We both went too far. I'll forgive you for humiliating me, and we'll move on. Forgive me. You stole $30,000, I said. Oh my God, Elena, stop obsessing over that number. It's the amount. You had savings. Had. Whatever, you're being dramatic. I leaned forward slightly. Caleb, you're looking at 3 to 5 years. He paused. Then switched tactics. If you don't drop this, I'll tell everyone you manipulated me, that you trapped me, that you created fake women to emotionally abuse me. You stole before I created them. That's irrelevant. How is theft irrelevant to theft charges? He ignored that. I'll tell your firm you prey on vulnerable men. I smiled slowly. Vulnerable? You financially dominated me. You called yourself a king. That was branding. The mental gymnastics were breathtaking. I have the messages, I said quietly. Those were private. So was my bank account. Silence. Then his voice turned colder. This isn't over. I hung up. The next surprise came 2 days later. A man named Frederick messaged me. Are you Elena Morrison? Yes. I think we need to talk about Caleb Hoffman. We met at a coffee shop. Frederick was mid-30s, polished, visibly embarrassed. He told me he needed $3,000 for his mother's surgery, Frederick said. I transferred it immediately. My condolences, I replied evenly. His mother teaches Pilates. Frederick winced. He said he was escaping an abusive ex. I raised an eyebrow. Let me guess, he continued. You were the abusive ex. I said nothing. He pulled out his phone. Screenshots. Video calls of Caleb crying. Bruises on his arm. I thought he was hurt, Frederick said quietly. I recognized the bruises. CrossFit. He'd posted about a brutal arm day the same week. How much? I asked. Between me and 2 others? Around 8,000. Others? Frederick nodded slowly. There's a group chat. He added me. Golden King 27. Survivors 23 members. My stomach tightened. The stories flooded in. Medical emergencies. Escaping abuse. Family crises, fake eviction threats. Total amount over 2 months, more than $50,000. I leaned back slowly. This wasn't just ego. This was a business model. And then Frederick said the words that changed everything. One of the guys already filed a complaint. Detective Monica Reyes took his statement. I blinked. Reyes? Yeah. I stepped outside and called Troy. He answered on the second ring. You sitting down? I asked. Why? There are at least 23 victims. Silence. Then, well, that escalated. Wire transfers across state lines, I added. Another pause. Elena, that's federal. My chest tightened. FBI? I asked quietly. Possibly. I looked up at the skyline. 6 days ago, I thought this was about $30,000 and a bruised ego. Now? It was interstate wire fraud. When I hung up, I realized something chilling. Caleb never intended to leave me for better women. He intended to scale. And I had just audited Phase 1. When the FBI contacted me, I wasn't surprised. I was tired. Agent Collins introduced himself over the phone in a voice that sounded permanently unimpressed. Ms. Morrison, we're reviewing potential interstate wire fraud connected to Mr. Hoffman. We understand you initiated the original theft report. I documented it, I corrected gently. Yes, he said, you did. Over the next 2 weeks, my apartment turned into an evidence archive. Printed bank statements, screenshots, transaction logs, metadata timestamps. Every digital breadcrumb Caleb had scattered in his pursuit of elevation. The deeper they dug, the uglier it got. He wasn't just charming women on a niche sugar site. He had active conversations across 3 platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram. A luxury networking app I'd never heard of. Same script, same urgency, same Wounded King performance. But what stunned me wasn't the scale. It was the audacity. Because while the FBI was building a federal case, Caleb was building a blog. Yes, from jail. His mother posted it for him. Title: Surviving Financial Abuse, A Man's Story. Subtitle: How I Was Manipulated by a Powerful Woman. I stared at the screen for a full minute before laughing. It wasn't a funny laugh. It was the kind you release when reality exceeds satire. According to Caleb's blog, I controlled his finances. I humiliated him. I weaponized law enforcement. I emotionally entrapped him. He described himself as a young man exploring opportunities in a competitive dating marketplace. He made fraud sound like venture capital. The blog got 12 followers. 3 were bots. Still, Diane called me again. You've done enough, she said sharply. Federal charges? Really? I didn't file those, I replied. Other victims did. He's just ambitious. He forged signatures. He felt pressured. By what? By you. You made more money. You made him feel inadequate. There it was. The real grievance, not the crime. The comparison. He could have built something, I said quietly. Instead, he built lies. She inhaled sharply. You'll never find a man as charismatic as my son. I hope not. But the real performance came from Caleb himself. He called again from jail. This time, calmer, calculated. I've been thinking, he said. That's new. Don't be smug. I'm not. I have a proposal. I leaned against the counter. This should be good. You drop the charges, he continued, and I won't sue you for emotional damages. For what exactly? For fabricating 8 fake women and manipulating my affections. I blinked. You were stealing before that. I was repositioning myself financially. That's not a legal term. You entrapped me. You withdrew $30,000 before I created Veronica. That's circumstantial. I actually laughed. Caleb, there are 23 complainants. He paused. They're exaggerating. They have receipts. They wanted me to succeed. By wiring you money? Gifts. For fake surgeries? Silence. Then he shifted again. When I get out, I'm going to rebuild my brand. Your brand. Yes, men need to understand their worth. You're facing up to 10 years combined. He exhaled slowly. You always underestimated me. No, I said quietly. I overestimated your ethics. He hung up. 2 days later, Agent Collins confirmed what Troy predicted. Federal indictment filed. Wire fraud. Identity fraud. False reporting. Interstate financial deception. Trial date set. 6 months. In the meantime, Caleb bonded out. Diane mortgaged her house. When I saw him at the preliminary hearing, I almost didn't recognize him. Hair shorter, no tan, no designer suit, conservative navy blazer, muted tie, victim aesthetic. He avoided my eyes, until he didn't. When our gazes finally locked, there wasn't rage there. There was calculation. He thought he could spin this. Reframe it. Charm a jury. He always believed presentation outweighed substance. Outside the courthouse, Lucia shouted at me, "You're ruining a good man." A good man? I repeated. He just wanted more. Then he should have earned it. She scoffed. You'll die alone with your spreadsheets. I considered that. then smiled faintly. If spreadsheets keep me out of prison, I'll take it. The months before trial were loud. Online comments, strangers messaging me, some sympathetic, some calling me vindictive. Caleb's blog attempted one final pivot. He announced a future startup idea, Alpha Rise, a networking app for financially ambitious men. He described it as empowering men to reclaim economic agency in modern dating. I sent the screenshot to Agent Collins. He replied, "Bold strategy while under indictment, but privately?" There was something colder beneath the noise. I replayed the timeline often. The day he said I couldn't afford him. The way he smiled when he believed he had leverage. The casual entitlement. And what unsettled me most wasn't the money. It was the absence of remorse. Even facing federal charges, he never once said, "I'm sorry." Trial was approaching. And for the first time, I felt something unfamiliar. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Anticipation, because courtrooms strip branding. There are no filters, no curated bios, no edited narratives, just facts. And Caleb Hoffman was about to meet his own. 6 months later, we were back in a room with chandeliers. Not the Ritz this time. Federal courthouse. Caleb arrived in a charcoal suit that tried very hard to look humble. Hair neatly combed, glasses he'd never worn before. Softening effect. The rebrand was almost impressive. Diane sat behind him, clutching tissues before anything had even happened. Lucia was there too, front row, glaring at me like I'd personally invented consequences. I took my seat beside the prosecution. Agent Collins gave me a small nod. Across the aisle, Caleb finally looked at me. Not cocky, not charming. Studying. Still calculating odds. The charges were read aloud. Grand theft. Wire fraud, identity fraud, filing false police reports, forgery. The list was long, longer than I expected. When the prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Tamara Green, stood to deliver opening remarks, her voice was surgical. "Your Honor, this is not a case about dating. This is not about lifestyle differences. This is about a systematic, deliberate financial scheme executed over 2 months, impacting 23 victims across multiple states." She paused. Mr. Hoffman did not explore his value in the marketplace. He exploited trust for profit. Caleb's attorney, a visibly exhausted public defender, attempted a softer narrative. Mr. Hoffman was under emotional distress. He felt financially emasculated in his relationship. He made poor choices in an attempt to reclaim autonomy. Autonomy. That word again. Apparently, autonomy now involved stealing $80,000. They tried to paint me as cold, strategic, vindictive. Ms. Morrison created 8 elaborate fake personas, the defense argued. She manipulated my client's emotions. Tamara didn't miss a beat. After he had already stolen $30,000. Timeline. That word kept killing his defense. I testified calmly. Presented bank statements, withdrawal timestamps, screenshots of the messages where he requested money for fake emergencies, video clips of him crying on cue, the CrossFit bruise screenshots, the forged cosigner lease. I didn't embellish. I didn't dramatize. I just laid the math out. Caleb took the stand against his lawyer's advice. That was his fatal mistake. I was building connections, he insisted. Networking. For $5,000 wardrobe stipends? Tamara asked. He shifted. I deserved better than being financially controlled. You had full access to her accounts, Tamara replied, and withdrew funds without permission. I was going to pay it back. With what income? Silence. He tried again. She humiliated me publicly. Tamara stepped closer. Did she withdraw money from your account? No. Did she forge your signature? No. Did she file false abuse reports against you? Caleb froze. That one landed. Because, yes, he had. In retaliation, claims that were dismissed within days. No, he muttered. And yet you're the victim? He snapped. You don't understand what it's like to feel small. The courtroom went still. Tamara's response was calm. Feeling small is not a defense to fraud. Diane sobbed loudly. The judge called a brief recess. When we reconvened, closing arguments were swift. The jury deliberated for just under 2 hours. 2. When they returned, Caleb stared straight ahead. Verdict? Guilty on all counts. All of them. Diane made a sharp, broken sound beside me. Lucia whispered, "This isn't over," but it was. At sentencing, the judge leaned forward slightly. "Mr. Hoffman," he said evenly, "in 20 years on this bench, I have rarely seen such a clear case of entitlement escalating into criminal enterprise." Caleb stared at the table. "You had a partner willing to support you. Instead of building with her, you chose to exploit her. Then you expanded your scheme across state lines. When confronted, you expressed no remorse." Caleb's eyes flicked toward me, still defiant. "You are sentenced to 4 years state imprisonment and 3 years federal imprisonment to run concurrently. Eligible for parole after 2.5 years. Restitution ordered, $80,000. $80,000? He whispered. "Yes," the judge replied calmly. "Actions have totals." As deputies moved toward him, Caleb twisted around. "You're happy, aren't you?" He spat at me. "You destroyed my life over money." I met his gaze steadily. "You destroyed your life over ego." They led him out. No dramatic screaming this time, just the sound of cuffs. In the hallway, Diane rushed toward me. "You'll regret this." "I doubt it. You'll never find a man like my son." Good. Outside, the air felt different. Lighter. Troy waited near the steps. "Beer?" he asked. "Absolutely." 6 months later, life is quiet. Promoted to senior developer. Bought a condo with my own money. Emergency fund restored. I'm dating someone now. His name is Marcus. He's a high school history teacher. He pays for his own dinners. He doesn't call himself a king. He doesn't need to. The restitution process is ongoing. Assets seized. Luxury items auctioned. About $42,000 recovered so far. The rest will follow him for years. I did receive one letter from prison. Not an apology. A pitch. He wants me to invest in a post-release startup, a financial empowerment platform for ambitious men. He attached projected earnings, marketing strategy, suggested I could be a silent partner. The audacity almost impressed me. I mailed back a single word, no. Last I heard, he's teaching yoga in prison, telling people he's a victim of modern dating culture, still reframing, still branding, still not apologizing. But here's the truth no one posts about. This was never about money. It was about accountability. And accountability doesn't care about confidence. It doesn't care about curated bios. It doesn't care about who thinks they deserve more. It just counts. And Caleb Hoffman, he finally met the total.